Is it possible to defy the divide? That's what Dave Dulio is going to suggest to us right now, the director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University in Rochester, professor in the political science department there. Welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Michael Patrick. It's always nice to talk to you.
Well, that's very nice of you. Thank you very much. Do you think that Governor Cuomo called Bill Clinton and asked him how he can survive this thing? Because he says he's not going anywhere, and that's what the president did all those years ago in the Monica Lewinsky scandal.
Well, it's a familiar strategy. As you point out, it goes back to the Clinton era at least. And if that was successful for President Clinton, why not try it, with this time in New York State?
It's worked for Clinton, and it seems to be working for Cuomo. It didn't work for lots of other media people who got accused of poor behavior, similar poor behavior. I wonder what the difference is.
Well, that's a good question. There's certainly lots of examples, especially in the last handful of years, where these kinds of allegations would have taken down just about anybody. I wish I could put a finger on it for you, what exactly it is about Governor Cuomo that's allowing him to survive. I think the pressure is mounting, not only from Republicans, but from Democrats in New York. There's certainly this impeachment, maybe where there's smoke, there's fire. Lots of talk around impeachment in New York State. That might be the end result. We'll see, I suppose, in the coming weeks, whether or not that's the case.
Is America going to always be working toward a more perfect union?
Well, that's a great question. I think we can always get better, and that's in a lot of things, and certainly applies to our politics today.
That is why you've started the Toward a More Perfect Union series, and you didn't call it A Perfect Union.
Well, there's always room for improvement. I think that we would be a little arrogant if we thought that we were perfect, right? And I think that we're always working toward a better tomorrow, and we always want to try to improve, and that's what we're going to try to do with this series that we've got coming up at Oakland U. That's going to take on some weighty issues that we have here that we're facing in the country.
The first panel discussion that I mentioned earlier, Defy the Divide, A Path to Civility, you've chosen three people who have, maybe at their own political peril, decided to attempt that.
Right. We have we extended invitations to 5 members of Congress, 5 members of the U.S. House of Representatives. And in Michigan, we're fortunate to have these 5 individuals as members of the Problem Solvers Caucus in the U.S. House. And that's an evenly divided group of lawmakers who say as their goal to create bipartisan solutions to important policy questions. And as you know, Michael Patrick, trying to coordinate 1 or even 2 schedules of members of Congress is really, really difficult. So we are delighted that we were able to get 3 of these individuals, Alyssa Slotkin, who represents our campus, Debbie Dingle, and Fred Upton, to agree to have this conversation in 2 weeks from today, actually, where we'll talk about how to find common ground in a time of what's really a highly charged partisan atmosphere.
What if I told you that Representative Steve Carra, for instance, the Republican from Three Rivers, was zooming in and watching and waiting for Fred Upton to say something he can seize upon to try to outflank him to the right in a primary for 2022?
I would say it's totally expected. And I think that your point about, to their political peril, potentially, I think is a fair point. And when I look at these names, I think that these are folks that certainly in the case of Dingle and Upton, these folks have been around Capitol Hill for a long, long time, and they know their district, they know their constituencies. And they're going to do their best to represent them, whether that comes from whether there's a primary challenge involved or not.
Kind of interesting that you've got Nolan Finley from the Detroit News as one of the moderators of the panel, Stephen Henderson the other. It makes me wonder, when you talk about civility, is the media making it worse, or is the incivility in Washington, D.C. driving the media?
Well, I think that's a chicken or the egg question, actually, and I think that there's plenty of blame to go around on all sides when we talk about the nastiness, the rancor, the vitriol that's in our politics today. And we asked Stephen Henderson and Nolan Finley to moderate this session, in large part because, certainly they're two of the most well-respected journalists that we have in our state. And in addition, they have taken a step to try and create a better politics. They've started something called the Civility Project, where they focus on talking to community groups and folks around the state about how they are very, very different politically, but they remain really good friends, and they can get past their political differences and maintain this great relationship, which is something I think we can all learn from.
Tuesday, April 6th, from 10:30 to 11:30 in the morning. To register, go to ou-cce.eventbrite.com. If you can't remember that, go to mibigshow.com, and we'll put it right on the podcast there for you so you can see it. But I think if you Google Oakland University and you Google Defy the Divide or Path to Civility, Toward a More Perfect Union series, you'll probably be able to find it. Fair enough?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Looks like the president wants to spend a lot of money and raise taxes, eh?
It certainly could be. We'd probably know a lot more about that if he actually held a press conference and talked to the press.
Well, he got elected not doing that, so why wouldn't he govern that way, huh?
Right. It's the avoidance of a press conference. I think it's important to note the historic component of this. Right, is that President Biden will have gone the longest in 100 years without having held a formal press conference by the time he does at the end of the week.
Boy, the media might actually miss the Donald. Dave Dulio, Oakland University.
Good morning. This is Mike Janranoa.
This is Pat Pritchard from Blue Cross and Blue Shield.
Hi, I'm Doug DeVos, president of Amway Corporation. You're listening to Michigan's Big Show, statewide, starring Michael Patrick Shields.
Statewide includes Rochester, Michigan, sort of just north of Troy, and Birmingham, Michigan, south of, say, Lake Orion. It's just a great spot, and Oakland University makes it greater, and Dave Dulio is director for the Center of Civic Engagement there, professor in the Political Science Department. And on our AT&T line this morning, talking politics, we get carried away. It's our family business on this program. Thank you for being with us.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Did you, what was your reaction, and recognizing that you're a professor, you're nonpartisan, I presume, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, because sometimes people suspect that, in the universities there's partisan teaching going on. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, that you're not, molding minds?
Absolutely, no doubt.
Okay, thank you. What was your reaction then when you saw President Biden slipping on the steps of the aircraft? And also, were you curiously watching, like I was, who covered it and who didn't in the media?
Well, I think the first reaction is, right, I hope he's okay. Mm-hmm. But then it for me quickly goes to, okay, what's the coverage of this going to be? And then the next question is, okay, how is this going to compare to if that was Donald Trump who fell on the steps?
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that's where we are these days. And by the way, anybody listening right now, and Dave Dulio knows this, and I do too, virtually every single step of the President of the United States is recorded on video, other than, when he's in his private residence, okay? It's all there, audio and video. And so how would you like someone following you around every step you take? When you accidentally hit your head on the freezer door in the kitchen or what have you. This is the fact of being president. These things will happen. It happened to Gerald Ford, and it did happen in a sense to Donald Trump, where he was walking on slippery loafers down a metal ramp. Fair enough, right?
Sure, and it is the presidency is, as you pointed out, right, maybe the most recorded office in the world, and the most watched individual potentially in the world. And it is there are going to be mistakes, there are going to be slip-ups, there are going to be things that happen. And one of the things about our politics today, right, is that it is such a gotcha, looking for ways to take somebody down for a small slip up. In this case, he tripped going up the steps of Air Force One. Big deal, maybe not, but it's made a bigger deal because of the reaction that it gets. Either the two questions that I pointed out, right? What would it have been if that was Trump? And okay, what's the press going to do with it?
Here's the other thing that I'm, musing about here that really has me concerned when it comes to the media and politics. The dreadful events at the spas and the Asian spas, the shootings that took place there in Georgia. The shooter said that it wasn't racially motivated, as I understand it. He said it himself, but the media would not accept that from him, and the media insisted on running a week of stories about discrimination and danger for Asians living in America. Now, there may be that going on, but does it seem like the media finds something negative, seizes on it, makes it the narrative for a week until we all believe it, and until maybe they goad somebody into some sort of response that we're not gonna like?
I think that there's even a bigger issue at play here. And it's nothing new. We've seen this in coverage of various events over the years, right? But there seems to be, and maybe it's just heightened these days, that there's this rush to be first. There's this rush to have the story. And as you know certainly better than me and better than the vast majority of the listeners out there, right? The story takes time to develop and to find out what the facts are. And I think we're always in danger of getting something incorrect if we have that rush to be first, that rush to break the story, to have the scoop. And you'd think that we would learn by now, but maybe just let it play out a little bit to see what facts develop, to see what investigations turn up, right? And this is not the first of these. It won't be the last of these examples.
Then the next narrative came the border, the southern border, and the whole kids in cages phrase and all that kind of thing. But that's what we were getting for the last week or so. Dave Dulio, question. Why can't the Michigan Republicans seem to find a candidate to run against Gretchen Whitmer if she is as unpopular as they say?
Well, that's a great question, and I think that it's a couple of different things. One, I'm not so sure that she's that unpopular that it would make such an attractive opportunity to run for governor. But I think that the bigger question is where does the Republican Party go from here, right? In this post-Trump presidency world, where do they go? Do they continue down the path that President Trump forged, or do they take the fork in the road and go the other way, and go back to a more establishment Republican, traditional Republican path?
Well, she's piling up money in the meantime, and every time I ask somebody in the GOP, they say, well, there's time yet. We got a lot of time to go, but I'm not sure I believe that.
Well, I think you're right about that. The time is now. If even to just start raising money and start to build a campaign organization. I mean, it's crazy that we talk like that, right? We're 18 months away from that election, and it's like the Republicans are on borrowed time here. I think the fact that Governor Whitmer's had such success in raising money puts any GOP candidate not in a no-win situation, but they've got a lot of work to do to.
Sure do. Dave Dulia works hard, too, at Oakland University. Thank you, sir. We'll keep in close touch.
Starting route to top 10 state status. Proceed to the plan.
The Road to Top 10 plan from Business Leaders from Michigan charts a course for Michigan's growth with key landmarks along the way.
Turn right to compete for good jobs.
Like bringing quality jobs to Michigan, investing in education and job training, rebuilding our infrastructure, and more. And if we follow the plan,
You have reached your destination. Top 10 state status.
read the full plan at michigansroadtotop10.com.
Hey, the Easter basket's ready.
Why is there ham in the Easter basket?
Actually, it's cooked spiral sliced half ham. I got them at Meijer for just 87 cents per pound, and there's a limit of 2. Who wouldn't want it in their Easter basket?
What about the toys?
Oh, right, the toys.
I found so many great toys in the Easter toy book at Meijer.com. I just ordered some with Meijer Home Delivery for only a $4.95 delivery fee.
Delicious ham and fun new toys. What more could you ask for?
Fill your baskets this Easter at Meijer. Exclusions apply. See all the deals in the Meijer app.